With a new Herminia on the horizon, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about powerful in the deck, as well as a simple deck profile. What's up, guys? Zenora here, and today I'm going to be doing deck profile slash guide for powerful. So with the new Herminia on the horizon, about 2 or 3 days from the making of this video, I just want to showcase the list that I've been using for a while. It isn't fully upgraded yet, but I had some pretty good games testing with this, as well as just a lot of fun using it. So let's get it started. Before I start the deck profile, I want to explain what the keyword means. So the keyword powerful is a keyword that checks to see if there's any cards in your soul, and if there isn't any cards in your soul, you can activate their abilities. So it's like an extra conditioning cost. So if you've played anything like the old OTT with Scarlet Witch Coco, which checks to see if there's any cards in your soul. Usually, if there's not any, you usually got effects or very powerful drawing effects. It's essentially this, but in a lyrical way. So whenever I just say powerful and I don't read the phrase if your soul has no cards, you know it's just powerful. So now let's get on to the actual deck profile. So with the actual deck profile, we're just gonna start with the Rye line. So first off, we have the starter. Nothing much to say. It doesn't matter which starter you use in this deck. When you go second, you draw a card anyway. So first off, we're going to talk about the grade 1. And the grade 1 has 2 abilities. At Vanguard Rigor Circle, cost, so +1, discard a card from your hand and draw a card. And the second ability is powerful. When you would ride Trap Peach Eternes from your ride deck, you can ride without paying the cost of discarding a card from your hand. So if you specifically ride the grade 2 in the line, which is Peach herself, I just call her Peach, it's just easier to say. So her abilities are continuous Vanguard Rigor Circle. When this unit attacks, this unit gets 2,000 power. And powerful, when you ride Herminia from your ride deck, you don't have to discard a card to ride. So very easy, self-explanatory. And Herminia herself has 2 abilities. So at count +1, this unit gets 5,000 power to end of the turn. And the second ability is powerful. At the end of bout that this unit attacked, if the number of cards in your soul and face-up cards in your damage zone is 0, discard a card from your hand and choose one of your rear guards with the powerful ability and stand it. Reduce the next counterblast you pay by this turn by 1. So overall, the Ride line's whole gimmick is to have no cards in your soul, which is basically the powerful ability, and you can ride for free. As well as for Herminia, if you use all of your face down damage for costs, you're able to restand the rear guard and reduce the next counter boss by 1, which helps out a lot in some of the cases in this deck, once I go over the combos and those cards. So overall, this line is pretty okay. You're able to essentially save cards in hand if you get the right cards to empty your soul. You're able to have a pretty decent, like an okay early game with it, which I'll explain later. Overall, this line is what I will recommend to use, especially these two, because you're able to just get into powerful with this and you're able to ride for free. There's no other line that works with these 3. The starter, like I said, doesn't matter. Now, first for the grade 3s, we have 3 extra copies of Herminia. Just because you want a Persona Ride, the only caveat of Persona Riding in this deck is that you gain a soul, so you have to remove it somehow. Or you could just activate the Chalice. So the Chalice, if you have a Persona Road this turn, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard with the Persona icon, you can Persona Ride this turn. You can only play one of it in this deck, but it just saves you from having to like do an extra step of emptying soul, or you just don't have a card that empties soul. Sometimes you end up using it, you get a card that you're able to empty soul, but again, it's just a nice way to increase the consistency of Persona Riding, as well as just having another card in your deck to be able to dig and activate Persona Ride. Lastly, for the grade 3s, we play 3 Titoes. So for this card's effect, she only has 1. which is powerful. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost of Kairos 1. This unit gets the red text auto. When this unit attack hits, draw a card. It's in the end of that battle. And choose one of your other units, and it gets 5 as a power to the end of turn. So I wouldn't really play this card now. There's a better card I'll explain later in the deck profiling guide. So Titos herself, when you attack, if you're in powerful, you pay the cost, and it's only the red text until that battle. It doesn't stay on the next time you swing. It's just only for that battle, which makes it really dependent on your opponent hitting. But it's really good if your opponent's on grade 2 and if you're able to just pressure out cards from their hand, because you'll be gaining a card, and if they let it hit, and they'll be taking damage, or they'll just be wasting a card to try to stop the draw. So as well as giving another unit 5k power is really decent, especially if you have a booster behind her and you're able to just stack all the power to it and to make the booster even huge. So, or any other rear guard that likes to restand from Herminia's effect. Now on to the grade 2s. One of the big playmakers of the deck is Riley. So she has 2 abilities. Act. So boss 1, once turn. Choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets 5 as a power to end a turn. And second ability is powerful. Rear Circle. When this unit attacks, cost Kairos 2, and this unit gets 10 as a power to the end of turn. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Herminia in this card name, this unit performs drive checks to the end of that battle. So Riley is a new card that was released in set 3 as a support booster for the powerful archetype. Riley puts a lot of pressure onto the opponent, especially if you have enough counterblast to be able to use and to be able to restand her, as well as you can get up to 4 drive checks in that turn. Riley's first effect is good to be able to just remove cards from your soul during your grade 2 turn as well as grade 3 turn, and give you an extra power boost to your Vanguard, which is always welcome. Riley herself is one of the main things that's pushing this deck to have the pressure that it has, and I believe it will still be played going forward, it probably ever to the future, until we get another card that's better than Riley in the deck. Next to the inclusion that I added to the deck, we're playing 4 Washa Blanc. So this is a new card from Festival Collection. When this card is discarded from your hand during your ride phase, so lost 1, and put this card at the bottom of your deck, and you draw a card. And the second ability is, when this unit is placed on Rigor Circle, if you Persona Roll this turn, cost Kairos 1, choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets continuous Vanguard Circle. All of your front row units get 5 as a power into the end of turn. So Washa Blanc is here simply because your grade 1 is not that good in the ride line. So you're able to just discard this card to ride up into your grade 1 and able to pay the cost of being powerful, as well as it helps you in weird positions where you don't have the cards you need to be able to empty your soul during your battle phase or main phase before you ride up, like I said with the grade 1 into Peach, as well as your Peach turn into Herminia if you have a card in your soul, or just don't have a card on your grade 3 turn to empty out. She's able to allow you to do that while also replacing herself. And on your Persona Ride turn, I usually don't use her as much to be able to put pressure out, just because she's not a powerful unit, as well as the extra counterblast is better spent on cards in the deck that isn't just gain power to the front row. So that's why I play her right now as a 4 of, but this might be cut entirely, or just cut down to 3 or 2, just depending on how I'll go about using the card in the future. Lastly, we are playing 3 Nala, a set 1 card. This card has 2 abilities. Auto, when this unit is placed on Rigor Circle during main phase, cost Kairos 1, choose a card from your soul and call it to open Rigor Circle. And then for each card of your soul, choose a card from your hand and discard it. And the second ability is powerful. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, this unit gets 5 as a power to the end of turn. So Nala is here to be able to call out cards from your soul and to be able to empty it so that you're able to be in the powerful state. So this card is mainly used on your turn 2 to be able to get your grade 1 from your Ride line out and to have a booster or attacker, as well as later on in the game if you don't have any other way to remove cards from your soul, or you could call out this. If you Persona row, you call Herminia or any other cards that go into your soul in the future. Nala is an okay card now, but I think it's a card that will slowly start to cut. Usually I will have this at 4, but now since we have better cards that are able to remove cards from your soul, and as well as Riley costs so much for a counter blast too, you don't want to push yourself to high damage just so you can use that skill if you do have her. So cards that don't use counter blast in the early game will help out a lot. But however, she's still a good attacker because she hits 15 to 20k by herself, as well as she's just free for her free power. So now on to the grade 1s. We're playing 4 of Signe. Signe is also a set 1 card. I'm set 2 card, sorry, for Herminia. And she has 2 abilities. So powerful, when his unit boosts, you may pay the cost of counter minus 1. Choose one of your other units, and he gets 5 as a power to the end of turn. Second ability is at the end of battle that this unit boosted. If you have a Vanguard with a powerful ability, stand this unit, choose a card from your soul, and put it into your drop. So Signe also is a consistency booster of removing cards from your soul just throughout the game. It's like a very good card to be able to do that. And her ability to just stand allows herself to be reused as another booster. So if you place her behind a card that restands, like Riley from Herminia's effect, you're able to essentially have another 8k booster. So another 18 to 28k attacking lane. As well as Signe's first ability to be able to just counter blast to give something 5k. You're able to stack it on one unit and essentially get more uses out of that unit, out of that one single 5k power, especially if you're putting it on a Tetues to restand with Herminia. So this card is very strong. I think it's still very important in the deck to be able to have that combo and consistent booster, as well as maintaining your soul. So maintain your empty soul for the powerful effects. So that's what I'm playing for. Next, we are playing for Musta, a card that was in set 3 that supported Herminia. She only has 1 ability, which is powerful. When this unit boosts a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Herminia in its card name, your front row gets 2,000 power to the end of turn. At the end of that battle, put this unit on the bottom of your deck and countercharge 1. So Musta serves a purpose of you being able to countercharge to extend your extra uses of counterblast. This combos amazingly with Riley because she's counterblast 2. Herminia reduces the counterblast by 1, and this also countercharges, so it makes you able to use Riley again by using both skills and make her counterblast 1, and that's how you get the 4 dry checks in a turn. Musa also allows you to extend counterblast uses with Tetues and Signe, which I'll explain in the combo part of this video, as well as being able to give the front row 2k. The 2k power does matter because cards like Tetues and cards that have a Signe behind it hits numbers, because Signe converts it to a 10k booster, and if you're swinging with Nala for 15, which hits 25k, which hits a threshold of 23k, so your opponent will have to use a trigger. Any other cards they use, like Signe on Nala or stuff like that, you're able to hit better numbers. So I'll explain later in the turn-by-turn play, but you don't always have to use a countercharge effect. I usually use it when I have when I have Rayleigh, Signe, or a Tetues Signe combo I want to use again. So this card is really strong, is really amazing in this deck. Lastly, for the grade 1s, we're playing 4 of the Perfect Arts from, it's been set once as Lyrical, same effect, and we're playing 1 of the Elementaria Sanctitude in this deck. Pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much like a mandatory staple, I would say, in this deck. It's not like in Felty Rosa where I'd rather just play all of the Ghost PGs. This one is kind of mandatory in this deck. For the triggers, we're playing 4 of the normal heals. You could play the effect heals. I just prefer the consistent 15k shield to be able to survive and not have it dependent if my opponent is playing a different deck that I'm using to heal on. Next, we're playing 4 of the effect front. I think this is an occlusion in this deck just because when you use Riley, when you hit a front trigger, it makes your front row even more stronger, as well as Riley gets the power as well. So it's just a nice trigger just to be able to hit and to put on more pressure for your opponent, since Riley is probably potentially restanding with another drive and she has an extra 10k more power, as well as your last rearguard attack also has a boost of 10k or even more depending on what you drive check with Herminia, as well as this is 20k shield and this deck needs a lot of shield to be able to survive. Lastly, for the normal triggers, we're just playing 8 critical triggers. 7 critical triggers. I do not play the effect crits because you're losing shield and you're adding cards in your soul. That's not the purpose of the deck, to add cards in the soul. I don't see a use of playing the effect critical trigger in this deck. So crits are good because if you check it with Riley, give it all to Riley, resale for crit, and just more power, more pressure that way. And you're drive checking 4 times compared to other decks that drive check, like Felty Rosa, that needs to hit draws in order to maintain its hand. You're maintaining your hand just through pressuring with your grade 3 Tidwez and your Rileys. You're forcing your opponent to guard these attacks. So that's where you're playing just straight up 7 critical triggers. You can play 8 critical triggers if you want. I just prefer the extra front for more shield. Lastly, for the OT, we're playing the blue one from Festival Collection. And this one has the effect of when it's drove check, choose a card from your drop zone, put it into your hand, choose one of your units, and it gets critical +1 to the end of turn. So this is a resource card. I like it a lot just because you're able to get cards like Riley for your drop zone, any PGs you discarded. It just helps a lot to be able to get back those important pieces, especially in a combo piece per line deck like this one. If you don't have your Riley, your Miustas, or your Signe, you can get those back. And this one kind of just, it's like an 8th crit or 9th crit if you decide to add an extra crit in your deck. And it just helps out a lot. When you check it, you're able to give all the effects to Riley. It's just another drive check with 100 million power if you decide to go that route, or give it to Riley if you check it with Herminia. And this is a really good card. With that being said, I'm going to go over 2 cards I think should be noted for, as well as one is coming out in the future. The other is a card I haven't ordered yet, but I would gladly add it to this deck. The first card I want to talk about is Emotive Emotion Helpla. So this is a card from Festival Collection I have talked about on the channel, so I won't say too much about it. So 2 abilities, which is powerful. During your turn, this unit gets 10,000 power, and the second ability is auto, where this unit is chosen by the ability of your Vanguard of Herminia or Hazard in its card name, cost combos 1 and draw a card. And this card is really good. It's a better Terrorez in a sense because she has shield. She doesn't hit as high of a number if you use Tidwez twice. However, you're able to call her out on your grade 2 turn for extra pressure, and you're able to choose it for Herminia and able to draw instantly rather than just having her to hit. And like I said, this is a shield card that has shield value on it. The only issue is that she's a 9k. If this was a 10k, I think this would be a lot more stronger, but that is how we'll have to deal with it. I would play this over Tidwez just because, like I said, for the reasons more shield. This actually hits numbers, well, slight numbers. Even if you use Miusta, it's still hitting 21 by itself, but it still hits a Vanguard for 18k, so they'll have to guard with 10k shield, which we all know how difficult getting 10k shield is in standard. And it's just a very good target for Herminia just to be able to draw. The next card I'm going to talk about is a card that's not out yet, but will be, and I think it's very important for you to have this in your deck, is Best Moment Stolas. So she has 2 abilities, Continuous Rear Circle. If you have 3 or more rear guards, with the friend ability or powerful ability, this unit gets boost. And the second ability is auto. When this unit is placed on rigor circle during the main phase, choose a card from your soul and put it into your drop. If you have a Vanguard with the friend ability or powerful ability, choose a card from your drop with the friend ability or powerful ability. You may call it to rigor circle. If you card a card, you cannot call cards from drop until end of turn. Putting a card from soul into drop is mandatory. So Stolas absolutely benefits and helps this deck even further. You're able to get cards that you guarded with from drop zone into play. So if you have to guard with Musta to survive, you can get it back now. If you guarded with a Nala or a Hopla, you're able to get it back. If some reason we need to get Herminia from the drop zone, we can get it back. It's just a very, very good card, and you're able to remove cards from your soul. It doesn't cost any counter blast. It doesn't cost you having a soul blast. It just costs you having to play this card and having your hand. Now you cannot call her because she does not have the front ability herself or the powerful ability. And that's also another issue in the deck, is that if you do not have enough powerful units or units with the front ability, she doesn't get the boost, which helps out a lot making numbers, especially on your other rearguard circle that isn't with Signe. And this card just helps out a lot to be able to maintain your board, especially if you're going against like a heavy retire deck or a deck that likes to remove your cards. So you're able to save this in your hand, able to use it to rebuild a board or just to be able to call cards you need for a specific combo. So Stolas absolutely is probably a 4 of at most. I'm most 3 of, but I would play it as a 4 of if we had this card in English. But we will be getting it soon. Before we move on to the combos, once again, I forgot, we need to go over what cards are important to you when you start the game in your Mulligan. So, first off, I'm going to talk about going first and going second, because it's very important in this deck what your Mulligan is. So, we'll talk about going first. So going first, it's okay for you to keep your Washer Block, to keep your PG, and to keep your Persona Ride. Because once you Persona Ride, you're able to obviously Persona Ride fast for your opponent and put pressure. Washer Block is always good to just keep, just because you're able to just use it on your turn 1. And the PG is just always good, just because compared to Felty Rose on my last deck profile, you cannot get this back from your drop zone. So if you have a PG, just keeping it in your hand. Now, another important thing about if you're going first is if you have draw Tidwez. Tidwez plus Signe is really good going first because your opponent's obviously on grade 2 by that time, unless you're playing against Ezreal or something. And you're able to essentially swing for 21k, and if you have extra counter blast, you're able to swing for 26, 31, so on and so forth, and your opponent will have to guard towards it. So I won't say this is as important, but if you do go first, I would say Persona is more important than Tidwez. Tidwez is just kind of a bonus. So we'll just place this right here. Now, if you do get Signe and Tidwez, I'll keep it just because your turn 3 has some pressure. Other cards that are important, obviously, is Nala, Riley, and Musta. It depends. If you have Tidwez and Signe, you need to be cautious of how much, if you want to use Nala or not. And if you have Riley, it's okay to have Riley over Tidwez. However, sometimes I would like to just wait to use Riley so they're a higher damage, so I can use her dry check effect to pressure more cards out of their hand. Musta is not like the lowest rated card. I would put Tidwez honestly right here. Just because she's kind of a bonus if you have this card. Now, if you have Hoopla in the deck, I would say she's still right here just because she's not as important. She doesn't provide as much pressure as Tidua is, which is funny enough just because it's on hit draw. Rather, this one is Hopla is just an automatic draw. You're able to put more power onto your rear guard. So overall, if you're going first, definitely keep Herminia. Definitely keep Washer Blanc. Keep your PG. And any of these cards are okay, and this is like the lowest priority. If you're going second, of course, the first card, obviously Washer Blanc. If you have a Perfect Guard or Sanctitude, obviously that. Now, usually I don't try to dig for Persona just because my opponent is going to give me a lot of damage or push me to 3 damage. So when I'm going second, my priority is to get Riley, just because you have enough Counter Blast, you're able to essentially like try to make a comeback and heal while pushing damage, and you eventually draw into one of your 4 Personas, including Chalice. Then I would try to find Musa, just because again you would be at high damage, at least 3 or 2 damage if you're lucky enough. Then I would say Signe is next important, and Nala, which is after that. Nala is kind of like in the end. Now, if you do draw a Persona, it's okay. You can keep it in your hand. But usually if I would just put it back. Just because Riley's more important for me going second. Just because you're able to use the counter blast a lot more freely, and you're able to get more drive checks as to compare going first, and your opponent might not give you that much counter blast. So if you have Tidua, I would just throw her away. She's not as strong going second because your opponent's going first and you're on grade 3. So her numbers don't mean as much at that stage of the game. So with that being said, we'll now move on to the combo section. Now we're on the combo section and turn by turn play. So we're first going to start with our turn 1. Obviously, this damage is not going to be taken on your turn 0, so this is just for example's sake of what you will need for your counter blast and combos. So first off, like I said in the Mulligan part of the video, if you have Washer Blanc, you're able to just discard her, and you're able to ride your grade 1, and then use Washer Blanc skill to Soul Blast 1 and place it to bottom of the deck, and you draw a card. So this is infinitely better than using the grade 1 skill. So if you don't have the grade 1 skill, unfortunately you're gonna have to discard. So we start the game. We'll just discard a Tidua, ride, and if you win second, you obviously draw. And then the Vanguard skill, you will Soul Blast 1. You will discard a card, we'll say, which is discard Nala, and you will draw a card. So like I said, Washer Block is really good on your grade 1 turn. It's okay on your grade 2 turn or grade 3 turn, but I'll explain that part when we get there. So for this part, usually I don't call any like regards to attack, just because this is a combo piece and this is a combo piece. Now once we get Stolas, because this is a list obviously while Stolas, you can play that way, or if you have any cards that like want to be called early you can aggro with, you can do that, but I usually don't, just because you need these cards in your hand, and it's okay just to like just swing for 8k. Now if you want, you could call Musta because it's going to stay in the back row. If you're confident your opponent is not going to like attack into you, I mean like retire it or like bind it or imprison it, you can just leave it behind the Vanguard to make it a nice 16k. So that's really all for your turn 1. Now since we're already here, our turn 2 is very simple. So I'll talk about the play with Washer Blanc because this also works on your turn 2 as well. So if you don't have any cards like Signe or Nala in your hand, you're able to use Washer Blanc to discard her, to ride, and again use Washer Blanc, Soul Blast 1, bottom deck, and draw a card. So now you're in powerful without having to call other cards. So it's important to realize if you need to use her or not, because sometimes you don't need to use her, and I used her like on my turn 1 and I didn't need to. Is sometimes if you do only have one and you don't have a card to empty your soul by turn 2, it's better to just hold off on this. Take the loss of your grade 1 and just use Wash Blanc for your grade 2 turn, so you're able to ride up into your Herminia next turn. So, and the other option is, if you don't have Wash Blanc, it's okay, because you have no cards in your soul. You're able to ride to grade 2 without discarding a card. So this is the part where Counterblast can be an issue if you do not have a way to remove cards from your soul. So, first off, if you have Nala in your hand, you obviously use Nala, her skill, Counterblast 1. Then you will remove your grade 1 from your soul, or any card in your soul. And then you don't have any cards in your soul, so you don't have to discard any cards. And you're already 1 Counterblast face down, which makes it hard for you to use your Riley if you do have it next turn, because you have to call 2. You have to have 2 Counterblast, or already have Musa in hand and use her after your Vanguard attacks, which is just very awkward. So if you have to use Nala to empty your soul. Another play that you can do, and it's fine if you don't have any other play, call Riley's skill, Soul Blast. The Vanguard gets 5k power. Leave her in the back row. Do not call it to the front row unless you have another card or you have Stolas already, because you can bait them into attacking this, and you can save cards in your hand because they do not want this on the field. But most of the time, I call it to the back row, just so that my opponent will swing into it, and they can only swing it to the Vanguard. So it's okay if you have to call Riley to do this. It feels bad, but it's not as bad as other plays. And lastly, another play that you can do is, if you only have Signe, place her behind Vanguard Circle. You go to your battle phase. Again, none of these effects need powerful, so she'll get 2,000 power. So this will be 20k altogether. Then at the end of the battle, that's just unit boosted. This is not a powerful effect. You just remove a card from her soul, and this stands, and you're powerful. So the stand effect is not connected to powerful. It's a free effect. Well, sort of free. It doesn't cause any counterblast to use, and you're able to successfully ride up to your grade 3 turn. So normally if I have Hoopla, I would actually just call it down if I'm powerful, just swing, because this card is kind of just a beater early game. As well as if you do have Stolas, in the future, you could just remove a card from your soul and just call whatever you want. So if you discard like Teruez, for example, in the future, discard it, you could call it early game because it doesn't have a grade limit. So, and now on to the grade 3 turn. Again, if you do not have any cards to empty out your soul on your turn 3, Wash a Block is key. So you can discard her, ride Herminia, and use her effect to Soul Blast 1, the bottom of your deck, and you're able to draw a card. So again, Wash a Block is key for those moments you just don't have a card to remove from your soul. Or if your soul's already removed, you can just ride Herminia without paying the cost to discard. Now, your main phase is pretty much the same as your turn 2. You just want to empty out your soul. So cards like Nala, Riley, and Signe. However, you don't want to use Signe during your battle phase to remove a card. You rather just use Riley. And again, we already explained Wash a Blanc. So once that is removed from your soul, you are in the powerful state. And with that, we have a couple combos. So the first combo is your bread and butter combo, which we have Riley and Signe. And we have Musta. So you're in powerful, you don't have any cards in your soul, and you're able to go to your battle phase. So these two will swing. As a column, this is 18. And the Signe skill, you can counterboss 1, give Riley 5k power. So this is now 23. And then Riley's skill, your counterboss 2, able to give this 10k power. So now this is 33. Yes, this is 33 in a drive check. And you perform a drive check. And then at the end of your battle, Signe stands. Then Herminia and Musa attacks and boosts. Musa's skill will activate. Your front row will get 2,000 power. So now a 33k column is now 35k. And your Herminia is 23k. You twin drive. And then at the end of the battle, this is very important. You need to sequence this right. If you miss sequence this, your opponent can rule shark you and you cannot undo it. So you need to use Herminia's effect first, which is since you have no face-up cards, you have 0 cards in your soul, you discard a card from your hand, is stand up, regard with the powerful ability. And then the next counterblast you use is reduced by 1. Then, Musa's skill, you place her at the bottom of your deck, and you may countercharge 1. If you reverse the order, Herminia will not activate. And some players might not allow you to bring back the card from your bottom of your deck, and you screwed yourself over. So it's very important to use Herminia first, then Musa. And now, simply, you attack with your 35k or plus lane. Then, use Riley's skill, which is reduced by 1 because of Herminia. And you can pay a counterblast 1 because Musa countercharged. This would be 45k in a drive, which is really strong if you have the 3 counterblast. If you have 2, obviously it'll be a 5k less, but it's still the same combo and it's still the same idea. So that's mainly your bread and butter combo. You need these 3 cards to do it. Even if you have like a Musta or like a Signe in your back row, it's okay. Riley's your main playmaker. Now for another combo that I like to use is the Signe Tidwes combo. So for this combo, it's very simple. You just need 2 counterblast. It's even better if you have Musta. So this is like your turn 3 play. If you're going first, if you're against your opponent, even if you have 1 counterblast like available, it still works. So you remove cards from your soul, you're in your powerful state already, and we're gonna go to battle phase. These 2 will swing for 21. Signe skill activates. You counterblast 1. You give 5k power to Tidwes, so now you're 26. And Tidwes skill, counterblast 1. She gains the red text just for this battle. You're able to give the power to Signe. Now, because you're able to give the power to Signe, boost is continuous. So she gets the continuous power from the 5k. Signe is now 13k booster. So this is now a 31k lane. And your opponent has to either guard or let it hit. Most of the time, they let it hit. So you draw your card, and Signe will restand. And then Herminia attacks with Musta. And then Musa's skill, the front row gets 2k power. So now the 31k lane is 33, which is even stronger. You do your twin drive. Again, Herminia's effect activates. You will discard a card from your hand first. You restand Signe. Next counterblast is reduced by 1. Then Musa's skill, bottom of the deck, and you can countercharge 1. So now this is 33k at minimum because of Musta. And any triggers will make it even higher. You swing with these 2 again. And it doesn't matter how you do it because the next counterblast you use is reduced by 1. So let's use Signe first. Give the power to Tidwes. So now you're 38. Tidwes skill, counterblast 1. Give Signe the 5k power. And now you're at 43, which is really strong. And if they let it hit twice, you drew 2 cards. You essentially plussed 1. Since you had to discard a card for Herminia anyway. So at the end of the battle, you're able to stand it, and that's usually what I would like to do on my turn 3 if I'm going first. And that's pretty much most of the impactful plays. Now you can do the same play with Nala. However, if your opponent's at grade 2, Nala won't get power. So it's better to wait if your opponent's at high damage and you don't have Riley, or your damage is face down like in this situation. So another combo you could do is Nala plus Signe. Obviously Musta makes this even better because she makes Signe become a 10k booster. So these 2 will attack. Signe skill, counterblast 1. Nala gets 5k power. It's better to put on Nala here rather than Signe because you have to choose another unit. So now this is 23. Nala skill. She gets a 5k power boost. So now it's 28. And then at the end of the battle, you restand. Again, Herminia and Yusta. 2k power to the front row. So this was once 28, and now it's going to be 30. Then you do your twin drive. Herminia first. Just discard a card from your hand. Stand Nala. Then Yusta. Bottom deck. Countercharge if you want. So if you had like another Signe or something, another column, you can do that. However, I would just use Herminia's effect in this situation just to have the extra combos reduced. So now this was 30. This swing again. Skill Signe. Since it's free now thanks to Herminia, Nala gets extra 5k. And Nala skill, she gets extra 5k. So now it's 40k. Which is really powerful if your opponent's like at 5 damage. I will only do this tactic at 5 damage or even 4. If I had Riley and enough counterblast, I would just do Riley instead. It's a lot more pressuring than this, but this is just really free, especially with Herminia. Even if you don't have Musta, you can still do this combo. This just makes you hit a better number slightly. And that is pretty much all of the things you could do in this deck. Again, with Stolas, it kind of changes. The cards you prioritize for your play, it doesn't vary depending on decks that you play against. Now there is a play you could do with Persona Ride. So if you did use your Chalice for this turn, and if you have Washablanc, it's really dependent if you want to use your counterblast. So let's say like you were like at like 1 damage and you just didn't have any plays to really do. Like if you just did a play like this or something with Teruo as a Signe, and you took like a bunch of damage, like a bunch of damage, you're at 5 damage already. And that's also an issue in this deck, that if you have so much damage, you can't use it all. And once you do, your next turn, you're pretty much strained for resources. So let's say you Chalice because you don't want to Persona Ride with a Herminia, or you just damage all of them. And then you will call Washablanc. You counterblast 1. The front row now gets 5k power. So now your units in the front row will give an extra 5k power, which helps because it makes better numbers than the restander. Like if you had a Riley, better. I'll move this to the back row for now, and you have Musta. Now Riley is swinging for 25k. Her skill, you're able to make it even higher. And then with Signe or Teruo, you're able to counterblast 1 more time, and you're able to give Riley extra 5k power. Now I wouldn't do this. It's just for a second of the situation I forgot that you can use Herminia's skill to counterblast 1 to give herself 5k, which in some cases makes your Vanguard kind of threatening. She isn't the most threatening card in the deck. It's really Riley and your other rear guards. But overall, that's like the only situation I would use Washablanc in. If you've just been rushed, you Persona Ride, and just to give your front row an extra bit more power for the front row. So overall, I think that's all for this section of the video. I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the deck and so on and so forth. Overall, I think Powerful is a very interesting deck. To be able to have a deck that doesn't use much, that uses all of its resources for a lot of power, I just feel like at the moment it's not living up to its name, especially if you using all of the cards in your soul, and Herminia herself needing all cards of your damage to be face down just to restand a rear guard. Like, it doesn't seem as powerful as other decks, and hopefully the new Herminia and support cards can help even further extend the power which the deck can go towards. I would say what could be fixed about the deck is to have either more ways to regain your rear guards that you use, or to refresh your resources, as well as a way to put a little bit more pressure. There's only really one card that puts pressure, and that's really Riley. And if you don't have Riley, you're not able to pressure your opponent as much as other decks are, even if they don't have their important combo makers. So we'll see what the new Herminia will do, as well as just the new support cards. Overall, I think, like, out of all the decks in Overdress, I think this is very interesting to me, and I just like it very much. Compared to some of the other lyrical decks, I think this one is just very... It's very complicated in managing your resources, and to be able to do that while playing against some of the strongest decks in the game is very difficult. Which is why I said a while ago that Powerful is probably one of the most complicated and difficult decks to play, just because of the resource management. Even if you are really good with resource management as a player, being able to win against better decks is very difficult. You need a lot of luck to win. So hopefully we get some support cards to be able to close that gap between skill and actually being a very skilled user and pilot of the deck. So another note is, I feel like you do not need Washer Blanc in this deck to be good. Washer Blanc was just a tech for me that I wanted to play, so I wouldn't have to like brick myself in bad situations or draw into bad cards from my grade 1 turn. So overall, I really enjoy this deck. Hopefully it gets improved on, and we'll see what the new Herminia is going to be able to bring to the table. So with that being said, I know this is a very long video, but I really wanted to explain it. I made a video in the past explaining this sort of stuff, but I didn't have nearly as enough knowledge or like practice or actual real game playing in real life experience. So now, since I have played it in real life and experienced it all, I just want to say thank you for being so patient, and hopefully you are able to use this for your guides and your decks or whatever you want to do with it. So with that being said, I'm Zenarion, and I'm signing off.